Listen closely, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you see attraction forever. Most men spend their entire lives chasing women, bending over backwards, begging for attention, only to end up frustrated, confused, and alone. But what if I told you there's a hidden switch inside every woman's mind, a psychological trigger that, once flipped, makes her chase you? And what if I told you that the men who understand this don't just get more women, they command respect, spark obsession, and control the entire dynamic without saying a word? This isn't manipulation. This isn't games. This is the raw, unfiltered truth about how female desire really works. And once you see it, you'll never struggle with attraction again. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to expose the 3 forbidden psychological secrets that separate the men women tolerate from the men they can't forget. These are the same secrets that have built empires, toppled relationships, and created legends throughout history. And they're rooted in science, not opinion. But warning, what you're about to learn will challenge everything you've been told about dating. And once you know it, you can never go back to being the clueless, needy man you once were. So if you're ready to unlock the power that makes women pursue you, invest in you, and fight to keep you, then don't you dare look away. Because this is where your real life begins. Let's talk about something fundamental. Something so deeply wired into human nature that if you ignore it, you'll keep struggling with women, no matter how much effort you put in. And that is this. Women don't fall in love with you because of what you have. They don't fall in love with you because of what you do. They fall in love with you because of how you make them feel. And this isn't some cheap pickup artist trick. This is psychology, this is biology, this is the way human beings are built. Think about it. When a woman looks back on the men who left the deepest mark on her life, who does she remember? The guy who bought her expensive dinners? The guy who gave her endless compliments? Or the guy who made her heart race, the one who kept her guessing, the one who sparked something inside her that she couldn't quite explain? That's the difference between a man who is merely present in her life and a man who owns a piece of her emotional memory. Now, why is feeling so much more powerful than logic when it comes to attraction? Because emotion is the language of the unconscious mind. You can reason with a woman all day about why you're a great partner, stable, successful, kind, but if she doesn't feel it, none of that matters. The heart doesn't respond to resumes. It responds to experience. It responds to tension. It responds to the thrill of something uncertain, something alive. This is why nice guys finish last, not because being kind is a weakness, but because they misunderstand what actually creates attraction. They think, if I show her how much I care, if I prove my loyalty, she'll see my value. But that's not how desire works. Desire isn't a transaction. It's not about fairness. It's about provocation. It's about awakening something inside her that she can't ignore. So what's the key emotion that triggers this response? It's the feeling of anticipation, the sense that there's more to you than meets the eye. When a woman can't fully predict you, when she senses depth, when she wonders what you're really thinking, that's when you become magnetic. That's when she starts investing mental energy in you. And once she's investing, once she's emotionally engaged, that's when real attraction takes hold. This isn't manipulation, it's understanding. It's recognizing that human beings are drawn to what challenges them, not just what comforts them. A relationship built purely on comfort is a relationship that becomes stagnant, but a relationship with tension, with mystery, with room for her imagination to fill in the gaps, that's a relationship that stays alive. So ask yourself, are you making her think, or are you making her feel? Are you just another predictable presence in her life, or are you someone who stirs something deeper? Because if you want to be unforgettable, that's the question that matters. And once you understand that, everything changes. Now, go out there and give her something to feel. Let's address one of the most insidious attraction killers, something so subtle that most men never even realize it's working against them until it's too late. I'm talking about predictability, the slow, quiet death of mystery. The moment a woman feels she has you completely figured out is the moment you become disposable. Why? Because human beings, and women in particular, are neurologically wired to seek novelty, challenge, and emotional resonance. When you become predictable, you remove all three. Think about how boredom operates in the mind. When something becomes too familiar, too easily understood, the brain stops paying attention. It's not personal, it's physiological. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and motivation, isn't triggered by what's expected, it's triggered by what's uncertain, by what keeps the mind engaged in the act of discovery. This is why routines kill passion. This is why men who reveal everything too soon, their feelings, their schedules, their vulnerabilities, end up relegated to the category of nice but unexciting. It's not that she doesn't appreciate you, it's that you've given her nothing left to discover. Now contrast that with the men who linger in a woman's memory long after they're gone. They weren't necessarily more handsome or successful. They really understood the power of restraint. They didn't flood her with attention. They didn't confess their emotions prematurely. So they didn't make their entire identity revolve around her approval. Instead, they left room for her imagination to fill in the gaps. And imagination? That's where real attraction lives. It's not about deception. It's about allowing her the space to wonder, to question, to project her own ideals onto the framework you provide. This is why neediness is so destructive. A needy man is a predictable man. He responds immediately to every text. He rearranges his life to accommodate her whims. He seeks constant reassurance, and in doing so, he eliminates all tension, the very thing that makes interactions between men and women electrifying. Tension isn't about playing games. It's about maintaining enough independence that your presence feels like a choice, not an obligation. It's the difference between I'm here because I want to be and I'm here because I'm afraid to be anywhere else. One is attractive, the other is tragic. Consider this. The most compelling stories aren't those where everything is explained in the first chapter. They're the ones that unfold gradually, that reward patience, that make you lean in because you have to know what happens next. You're the author of your own story. If you give away the entire plot in the first conversation, why should she stick around for the rest? But if you reveal yourself in layers, if she senses there's more beneath the surface, then she'll invest the time to uncover it. And investment, my friend, is the foundation of attachment. So how do you avoid the trap of predictability? First, by cultivating a life so rich and varied that no single person, not even her, can ever fully contain it. Second, by mastering the art of measured disclosure. Share yourself in increments, not all at once. Let your actions speak louder than your assurances, and most importantly, maintain enough sovereignty over your own emotions that she never feels she has you entirely figured out. Because the moment she does, you're no longer a mystery, you're a known quantity. And known quantities don't inspire passion, they inspire indifference. Here's the truth. Predictability is the enemy of desire. If you want to keep her attention, you must remain just beyond the edge of her full comprehension. Not distant, not aloof, but always one step ahead, always giving her just enough to keep her coming back for more. That's how you stay unforgettable. That's how you ensure she never loses interest. Now, go out there and give her something she can predict. Let's cut to the heart of what separates the men who are merely liked from those who are truly desired, the difference between being an option and becoming the prize. This isn't about arrogance or playing games. It's about understanding a fundamental truth of human psychology. Value is determined by scarcity, both real and perceived. When you position yourself as someone who chooses rather than someone who begs to be chosen, everything changes. Your energy shifts. Your posture shifts. The way women respond to you shifts. Think about how we assign worth in every other area of life. The rare painting commands millions. The limited edition car becomes a collector's item. The exclusive club gains mystique precisely because not everyone gets in. The same principle applies to you. If you're constantly available, constantly lie accommodating, constantly signaling that her attention is the most important thing in your world, you're not a rare find, you're a commodity. And commodities get taken for granted. No, contrast that with the man who understands his own worth. He isn't defined by any single woman's opinion of him because his sense of value comes from within. He has a mission that matters more than chasing approval. He sets standards rather than begging for scraps of affection. This isn't indifference. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows he brings something meaningful to the table. And that confidence is magnetic. It creates tension. It makes her wonder, what does he know that I don't? That's the question that keeps her engaged. Here's the critical insight. Women don't test men to be cruel. They test because they're biologically wired to seek out strength. When she pushes to see if you'll bend, when she withdraws to see if you'll chase, she's not playing games. She's instinctively probing for weakness. The man who panics at the first sign of distance, who scrambles to reassure her at the slightest hint of doubt, fails the test. Not because he's caring, but because he's insecure. And insecurity is the antithesis of attraction. But the man who remains unshaken, the man who meets her fluctuations with steady calm, he passes in ways that go straight to her subconscious. He demonstrates the one trait that matters more than any other: emotional sovereignty, the ability to stay centered regardless of her moods. That's what makes her respect you. That's what makes her want to earn your approval rather than take it for granted. Because deep down, every woman knows a man who can't govern his own emotions can't be trusted to handle hers. This is why neediness is so lethal. It's not just unattractive, it's a red flag. A man who orbits a woman's world signals that he has nothing better to do, no higher purpose, no life of his own, and no woman wants to be the center of a universe that small. She wants to join a man who's already going places, not one who's waiting around for her to give his life meaning. Your job isn't to convince her of your value. Your job is to live in such a way that your value is self-evident. So how do you become the prize? First, by developing genuine substance. Skills, passions, ambitions that have nothing to do with women. Second, by setting boundaries that communicate self-respect. Third, and most crucially, by walking away the moment you sense you're being treated as an option rather than a priority. Not as punishment, but as the natural consequence of knowing what you're worth. That last part is key. When you're willing to lose her rather than compromise your standards, you flip the entire dynamic. Suddenly, she's the one proving herself to you. Understand this: the balance of power in any relationship isn't determined by who cares less, it's determined by who has more options. Not necessarily with other people, but with life itself. The man immersed in meaningful work, surrounded by brotherhood, driven by purpose, will always have leverage. Not because he's manipulative, but because he's complete, with or without her. And that completeness, that's what makes her want to be part of your world, not the other way around. Here's the truth they won't tell. Women don't fall for men who need them. They fall for men who inspire them. Men who represent a challenge worth rising to. Men who force them to confront their own limitations and grow. If you want to be that man, stop chasing, start building, stop pleading, start leading, stop asking for a seat at her table. Build one worth, inviting her too. Now, go out there and make yourself the prize.